Hey, we're going to get started in a minute. Okay. All right. Welcome, everybody, to the June 23rd, 2025 City Council meeting. Will the city clerk please call the roll?
Counselor Ring is absent. Counselor McLaughlin.
Here.
Counselor Runyon.
Present.
Counselor Randall.
Present.
Counselor Richardson.
Present.
Mayor Mays.
Here.
There you go.
Item 3 is the Pledge of Allegiance. I'd like to call on Council President Tim McLaughlin to please lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 4 is approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll move to approve the agenda.
Second it.
It's been moved by Councilor Richardson and seconded by Councilor Randall to approve the agenda. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 5A is a presentation for, regarding our wastewater treatment plant, the annual report from Jacobs. Please come forward and identify yourselves. We know who you are.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the council. I'd like to introduce to you Oscar Ferris. He is the plant manager for the wastewater treatment plant from OMI and Jacobs. And so I'll go ahead and turn it over to him to give his presentation.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. As Dale mentioned, my name is Oscar Ferris. I work for Jacobs. And sorry about that. Some of you may have had the opportunity to already look through the report, and I'm just going to touch on some of the highlights and then take any questions that anybody may have. Starting on the next page. One page back. There it is. So this slide here focuses on our team, not only the local team, but our regional team. Brian is our geographic manager of operations who brings over 40 years, nearly 40 years to the table. And so along with the staff that we have on board and the resources that we have to assist us, we're doing the best job that we can to be good stewards of the permit and comply with all regulations. Some of the benefits of partnering with Jacobs and the city of the Dalles are the resources that we do have. There are subject matter experts in every field that there is. One of them is engineering, which we have used for a biosolids and a renewable energy resource study to evaluate how to better utilize both of those aspects. We've been able to lean on some of our neighbors while troubleshooting in-house laboratory issues. We've also had some obsolete parts that we've been able to get from other Jacobs facilities who have upgraded and held on to some valuable pieces that we've been able to use. And we've also been able to use some of Jacobs folks for staff augmentation when we've been shorthanded. These graphs highlight the consistent adherence to permit regulations. We do have winter and summer permit limits that differ slightly. However, we're well below all of those limits and remain in compliance and provide high quality effluent discharge to the Columbia River. With operations, though, we have faced some challenges over the last year, one of which is the digester failure that we had and trying to operate on only one secondary digester. The costs were increasing as the extent of the damage revealed itself. And while we did have to do some unorthodox operations, we were able to maintain compliance with Class B biosolid regulations throughout the year that we were down without it. So laboratory and IPP are both filled by one position, and her name is Anna Gill. She's been with us for a little over a year now and has filled these critical roles. She's done an excellent job in learning all of the wastewater lab analysis needed, as well as training in the various departments of industrial pretreatment and helping protect the POTW. On the maintenance side of things, Jacobs prides themselves on predictive and preventative maintenance and doing the best that we can to identify equipment issues before they become a failure and just take care of things. So out of the 1,766 work orders that were completed over the year, 96 of them were preventative maintenance and predictive maintenance, which is well above the 80% industry standard. Talking a little bit about safety. Unfortunately, in 2023, we did see a recordable incident, and it was the first recordable incident we'd had in almost 20 years, a little over 20 years, excuse me. And since then, we championed a positive attitude and just reinforced our safety culture, and we now sit at over 700 days without a recordable incident and continue to focus on safety every day. Another big part for Jacobs is serving our community, being able to give back. These pictures here are from a tour from Oregon State University, who we participate in the wastewater surveillance program. We send samples out and help so that they can help identify pathogens in wastewater. Also, the Easter egg scramble, which is a good opportunity to get out and talk to the community, be a part of everything, and educate folks should they have any questions. And sustainability ties into giving back to the community. Jacobs is always brainstorming and evaluating different ways to implement a way to make a more sustainable footprint for our community. One of those is the renewable energy study that we have going on to find a better way to utilize that for the future of the wastewater treatment plant. For more sustainability. And then our commitment to the future is outlined in this report. Jacobs is proud to partner with the city of the Dalles, and we look forward to advancing relationships as we support the community, public health, and the environment. And I'm open to any questions should anybody have any.
Any questions for Mr. Ferris? How's the hiring situation going for you?
So we have been down a mechanic for, probably about 8 months now. We've had a couple of candidates come through. Some chose to do something different. Some ended up not being a good fit. So that is the one challenge that we have had. But everything else, like I spoke about, Anna, she has filled the laboratory and IPP role. We got a young operator in training who has championed the safety program, has gone through CDL school and is now driving for us as well. And he's building versatility in his skills. So what we have at the plant is promising. We're just missing that one piece. And while we're down that piece, everybody's banding together to take care of it.
So is it bad luck, or is it there's just not very good quality?
A little of both. We've had limited candidates for sure, and some of them do not fit the position, the needs of the position. Some people we've taken a chance on and it hasn't worked out, or they've decided that it just isn't for them. So a little bit of both.
Anybody else? Councilor Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks for being here tonight, Mr. Ferris. I want to speak to the E. coli graph on page 4 of the report.
Yes.
It looks like maybe those are seasonal spikes, but it's unclear to me from the graph whether we are staying within the mean limit.
Yes. Love to explain that. So those peaks are some higher E. coli results. The permit says that we can have less than 406 parts per million. And so those spikes are below the single sample limit, but they are above the geo mean. So that single spike is referenced only to the single sample permit limit, not the average.
So that's not like a month of rising
No, sir.
tests.
No, it highlights the highest number in that month.
That's very helpful. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Just wondering, since we have the brochure on our computers and whatnot, do you need these back? Would you like to have them back?
Those are for you to keep.
I have one quick question. I remember a time when we were looking at reclaiming the methane gas and using that to generate electricity that would, then it would power the grid, the light grid for, how was that coming? Is that?
So that is part of the renewable energy study that I spoke about. From
Right.
the upgrade that we had in 2019, we have faced some challenges with that equipment, and it has not performed like you have mentioned.
Yeah.
And so we are trying to analyze how much biogas we actually produce, what we can do to capture that and use it beneficially, and then what we can do to potentially increase that and get more power to the grid.
Good.
And I will add to that that is also being looked at and assessed in further detail in the wastewater treatment master plan update that we are currently in the process of going through. So we'll definitely be addressing that through that process to rectify that.
Well, that was, that was promising, moving down that path of reclaiming wasted energy. Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate the presentation.
I would also like to introduce Jeff Houchin. He is the regional plant manager. And actually, if you could come up here for a second, Jeff, and Oscar could go ahead and take a seat. I'll let Jeff go ahead and maybe give a little more detail, but Oscar was just recently recognized by Jacobs for his exceptional work that he's been doing, and it was a big achievement to be recognized by Jacobs, as a big international company. So, but I'll maybe let Jeff expand on that just a little bit.
Thank you. Part of our company, we like to recognize outstanding performers. And out of all the project managers that we have within the United States and internationally, there were 3 managers that were selected to be highlighted. Initially, it came through as an application process. Myself, our regional administrative assistant, and our geographical manager of operations, we submitted a write-up for Oscar. They looked at that, they weighed all the information from all the other applicants, and they chose him as someone who's greatly involved with his project, respected by his teammates, valued as a valuable member in the city that he works in. And it was just a great national recognition within our company that he was selected as someone who stands out in his field as somebody looked up to. So we're very proud to have him manage this facility, and I personally have great hopes for him to continue to advance in his career and take over more responsibilities in the future.
Great. How about a nice hand for Oscar?
Absolutely.
Thank you, guys. Okay. Annual insurance update. Who's handling that? Oh, okay. There he is.
Button on that.
There we go. Perfect. Good evening. Scott Rainier, Columbia River Insurance. It has been just about a year since the last time I sat with the council to discuss the insurance for the city of the Dalles. And I must say that in the 12 months that have passed, I feel far more comfortable in working and representing the city of the Dalles than I did when I first took over. Our office based in Hood River has worked with a series of governmental agencies over the last 50 years. And I would have to say that over the last 12 months, the city of the Dalles has been a complete joy to work with. It has just been organized and effortless, and it has made what I do far easier. The majority of the policies that I work with for the city of the Dalles renew on 7/1. I think we kind of chatted about it last year when I was here. The majority of the property and casualty insurance is managed by city and county insurance services. They are the only provider currently operating and providing those coverages in the state. The workers' compensation coverage is provided by SafeCorp. And there are a few peripheral smaller policies that we use to manage things like the airport and some cyber liability in general for the city. What I couldn't share last year when I was here was potentially, I guess, what would be considered good news in the world of insurance. Rate increases have been a massive part of all types of insurance over the last probably 6 to 8 years. 2025, 26 are what we would consider the 7/1 renewal date for the city of the Dalles. This is really the first time that there's been a flattening of insurance rates. It's welcome. A lot of folks feel like it's overdue. But I do see sort of this flattening probably continuing, at least the trajectory of it is saying maybe for another 2 to 3 years, which is a good result. I can't promise that there will be any rate reductions on the horizon, but certainly a flattening in rate goes a long way in helping budgeting and other issues. I was just trying to think. So that the one, well, maybe I'd do it this way. Does that drive a question or two from any of you? How can I help, Rod?
25 years in the insurance business.
Oh,
I just love hearing about this stuff. So you said it's flat basically this year. And is that anything to do with us locally, or is it just a regional or national thing?
that's a great question. And so when I speak about, particularly for municipal insurance, we're looking at it sort of statewide. So what is the product being delivered by CIS and by SafeCorp to the cities and counties throughout the state of Oregon? And so it is a result that is coming from a statewide improvement. At the same time, all of the cities and counties in the state of Oregon that are protected by CIS responds to reinsurance, which it certainly is operating far outside the state of Oregon. The reinsurance carriers are having better than forecast results as well.
Okay.
So the better forecasted results from the reinsurance side have provided a little bit of relief down to the programs that the one like CIS provides, and that has provided this basic rate stability.
Okay.
That help?
Yeah, that helps a lot. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, if there's another questions, follow up on that, why don't you proceed?
Okay. I kind of along the lines of that question, I guess the one part I wanted to touch on is what happens locally. The single biggest thing to potentially impact rates are loss experience. And so I did bring a report, and I believe that I've got enough of this. I've got her. Yeah. And it's not the easiest to read report, but this is basically
Thank you.
loss experience for the city of the Dalles by policies over the last since here. I got the number of pages just right past one. Sorry, I don't know. There we go. What you'll see in that report or in this report, the city of the Dalles has performed really well with inside the CIS program. And I apologize because this is not the way I would have laid out this format, but it is the way CIS lays it out. But basically, if you look at the tan column of the 5 reported policy categories, the city is over a 6-year period operating with a loss ratio of less than 50% in each of those categories. There's only one category where it's above 50%, and that is the property insurance category. And that is connected back to a large loss in the policy period of 2023, 2024. but even with that there, the city has performed really well. So kind of getting back to Rod's question is if the program is doing well, is there additional benefit to the particular entity doing well? And there's no question about it. The overall performance being less than 50% over a 6-year period is a very healthy result for a municipality, a city. And that helps in the overall internal rating from CIS. Does this somewhat obtuse form create a question?
Great form. It's very informative and very
Ah.
concise. The question I would have is, if you can answer this, is what accounts for the 2023-24 property spike?
Yeah, so that is
Was it one claim?
that I was unaware. I don't have all the details on that. And when I got this earlier this week, or actually at the end of last week, I requested some details on it. I was hoping maybe Matthew or Jonathan may know. That was before I was involved.
Is that the digester?
I don't know why that would be in 23, 24.
Like it's in the wrong year, yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like the right year, but that looks like the right number for the
Right.
digester claim. I also don't know that the digester claim was processed out of our property.
It is a property, the digester is a property claim, but I think that because that yet has not been completely paid, I think you're seeing that being reflected in 2024, 25.
Yeah. I have a claims sheet that I've been maintaining that I'll check right now. And it looks like, so Scott, when they say CIS losses were 697,000, those are the costs that CIS paid out.
Incomplete, yes.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Jonathan, could you bend your microphone?
Sorry about that. There you go. And so in the coverage year 2023 to 2024, there is nothing even close to that dollar figure. The highest paid claim was a litigation settlement unrelated to property.
Well, maybe you got,
Well, that was my actual question back to CIS. The number seemed so large.
Yeah.
And when I spoke with Daniel, when I first started working with the city this time last year,
Yeah.
we didn't discuss anything of that size. So it sort of caught me off guard. They just haven't gotten the information back to me yet, but we will certainly run that down.
yeah, why don't you send a copy to,
Yeah, absolutely.
does Dale have an answer?
Pardon me?
Just for the information, the digester lid had its issues in
In-
February of 2024.
Right.
Was put back into service in March of 2025.
Right.
Yep.
But
So-
the claims that they listed here, Dale, you don't have a copy of this, but I'm guessing it's just a typo on their end, but we'll confirm it. It says the coverage year was 2023 to 2024.
I'll hand it back to us with it.
Is that fiscal year or calendar year?
I'm assuming it's the fiscal year, because at the top it says the last 5 fiscal years. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe somebody can get back to us.
And if it is that, and then, honestly, 697,000 is so close to the digester number. I'm having a hard time thinking.
$10,000 off.
Yeah, it's got to be the digester, which is wrapping up. We just got our final invoice in May, and CIS has been working with us and our staff and with Scott at trying to get all of that paid out. CIS has already given us a check for $372,000 for that, and we are working on the remaining balance literally as we speak, right before this meeting. So,
Hey,
Any additional questions? That was kind of all I brought this evening. I'm happy to address anything that pops into your mind or any questions you have. I think we have a pretty good plan moving forward for the upcoming year. It is a interesting time in the insurance industry. I know the city faced some real challenges not too very long ago with the fire. And I just wanted to say that we are here to help the city in any possible way when something like that occurs. So
Is 100% loss ratio mean, is that kind of a break-even point for profitability for the insurance?
For the insurance, yeah, so it's a fair question. So the insurance companies try and run basically what they call their combined ratio to 100%. And a combined ratio would be the expense of all of their losses and their other expenses. Once they get over 100%, it becomes a little bit more difficult for them to be profitable. They, at 100%, if things are functioning inside the stock market and other investment tools, they can actually still basically make money. The insurance companies that you see struggling today, and there are a handful of them here in the state of Oregon, their combined ratios run anywhere from 115 to 125%. And it doesn't work.
Is that a wild function of the wildfires?
So for some of the insurance companies in the state of Oregon, the wildfires, I would say, were sort of the final piece to it. A longtime insurance company in the state of Oregon, Oregon Mutual, which is based out of McMinnville, they have been moving in the wrong direction for some time. And they were just downgraded to a place sort of in the Moody's and AM Best category that's going to make it really hard for them to continue operating in the state of Oregon. So, and there are a handful of others that are kind of right on that same path. Yeah.
Okay, any other questions for Scott? Okay,
All right. If you need me, call me. I will be here.
okay, thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you. And I'll have an answer. I had hoped to have it today, but I'll have it for you tomorrow on that.
Right. Audience participation is number 6. During this portion of the meeting, anyone may speak on any subject does not later appear on the agenda. Up to 3 minutes per person will be allowed. Citizens are encouraged to ask questions with the understanding that the city can either answer the question tonight or refer that question to the appropriate staff member who will get back to you within a reasonable amount of time. If a response by the city is requested, the speaker will be referred to the city manager for further action. The issue may appear on a future meeting agenda for city council consideration. Do we have anybody signed up? So I read that for nothing. All right, we'll move on to number 7, city manager's report. Mr. Klebs.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Most of my report tonight will touch upon the Rowena fire. We had a message from Sheriff McGill, who's the Deputy Incident Commander, who made a comment around the establishment and ramping up of an incident management team. This team has really been established and is and being set up by the end of this week, fully operational or early next week to help orchestrate all the different recovery efforts that are going on. So I know that there's a lot of interest and there's a lot of support and individuals wanting to assist those impacted by the wildfires. And so this is intended to help organize and orchestrate those efforts. This includes, volunteers, cash donations, physical aid, and whatnot. So there'll be some more information coming out in the coming week, early next week, about the incident management team and how the recovery efforts are being organized and put in place. Some of the city response when the fire took place was an initial response from our police department and the public works department to assist with traffic control associated with the fire and the closure of Route 30 and I-84, as well as the police department providing some evacuation assistance. We had several staff, including the police chief, the assistant city manager, myself, and others who participated in the coordinator response meetings during the fire. We connected with the Red Cross and offered support at their emergency evacuation center. And we fielded a request to accept septic materials, a request submitted by Wasco County and North Central Public Health. Several septic tanks and septic facilities were damaged by the fire, and we ultimately received about 36,000 gallons of septic materials. We processed it through our facility here, and the last load of that material was received on June 18th. I also wanted to note that the city Wi-Fi system that we've been working on and upgrading and outright replacing, and that contract that council authorized last year, again in partnership with QLife, did play a substantial role during the event. That upgraded Wi-Fi network helped people stay connected when some cell phone service became unreliable due to the volume of calls that were going on. And so when your cell phone has some difficulty with cell phone reception, it'll switch over to that Wi-Fi system automatically to help manage some of the congestion and the volume of calls and activity that's going on. So we'll be putting out a press release in coordination with QLife about the role that system played. And I think that's important to note, in particular, because that system has been rather dysfunctional or just outright, didn't function at all for many years. And so to see that investment made, to see that system improved, and then for it to play a role in an event, I think was important, something to note. And so those are just a brief summary of the city's involvement and support for the Rowena fire and its recovery efforts, and a couple updates, and I'm sure there'll be more information to come. Stephanie Krell, the Wasco County Public Information Officer, is putting out a lot of different information, and so I'm sure there'll be more updates as the week progresses, but wanted to provide that update. And other than that, I'd be happy to answer any other questions you may have.
Any questions for Mr. Klebs? Okay, city council reports. We'll start with Councilor Runyon.
Not a whole lot, but one kind of big one. On June 18th, I was involved at the Oregon Veterans Home for a designated stop for the fallen soldiers cart on its way for use at the Boise, Idaho airport. The carts are used for the respectful transfer of the military. But what I really want to say is how proud I am of the Dalles Police Department. Not only this year, but also last year for another cart that stopped here while on its way to Tennessee. In both instances, the Dalles Police escorted the towing vehicle for the cart and 40-plus motorcycles of the Patriot Guard riders from around the Northwest as they entered the Dalles and up to the Oregon Veterans Home. This was much appreciated by staff and residents of the Veterans Home, who really enjoyed the officers who, after they had completed the escort, came by the front area, patio area of the Veterans Home and visited with the residents and whatnot. It was a very, very good afternoon. And as the district captain for the Patriot Guard Riders for Northeast Oregon, and as a city councilor, very proud of Chief Tom Worthy and his men and women for that day and last year. We may get one more opportunity. I was just told today that another cart may be delivered to Salt Lake City, and if so, it may come right through here because they enjoyed it so much. So thank you again.
Councilor Richardson.
Thank you. Just very briefly, one item. This week, our Federal Street Plaza subcommittee goes from its design phase and starts entering the preliminary implementation phase. It's very exciting. Onward and forward.
Councilor Randall.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No report this evening.
Councilor McLaughlin.
Well, the airport meeting for June was canceled. Urban Renewal Agency was canceled. June 18th, I did attend a police shooter response training at the Dalles High School. And I also asked on June 18th, let's see, a multi-agency at the Veterans for Fire Victims. I attended that. Friday evening, I attended a joint fire management report at the high school auditorium where we received information about where the fire was and what efforts were being made. I asked Walt Dinstead, who is a member of the Dalles Fire District. He was there with me. On Monday, June 23rd, that's today, I met with county officials to address post-fire planning. I was asked to head the rebuilding efforts to coordinate financial and donations for the county, and I have accepted. Thursday at noon, county officials will meet with the executive board of the Dalles Lions Club to request forming a partnership. The Dalles Lions has a 501c3, so tax donations or donations could be non-taxable. And also they have a large number of Lions that would like to help participate in organizing and serving the community for rebuilding efforts. That's my report for this week.
Mr. Mayor, Tim reminded me I was at the high school at the fire meeting for the community as well. In fact, I called Tim and asked him if he'd like to go. I think Dan was there as well.
True.
Yeah, so we had three in different places in the auditorium.
In different places.
I also attended that meeting.
For you,
So I was
we
there.
looked for you.
Oh. I also attended 5 out of the 6 wildfire briefings at the Mid-Columbia Fire and Rescue Fire Station.
Yep.
And I also visited the Red Cross shelter at the middle school a couple of times. And especially from the wildfire briefings at the fire district office, I was able to see firsthand the level of cooperation between all the 8 or 10 agencies that came into the Dalles and helped us out, which also included 580, by last count, 580 firefighters from across the country to come in and help our community. So greatly appreciated, and really impressed with the organization and how they contributed to the working on the fire. On the 17th, I did a coffee break interview with Al Wynn on KODL. On the 19th, I was at Adventist, the Celilo Cancer Center. The Adventist Hospital has hired a public relations firm to develop a promotional video, and part of that video will include a short interview with the mayor. On the 21st, on Saturday, my wife and I escorted about 50 people from Troutdale who wanted to tour our murals, and we showed them around. And I also attended the Dalles Arts Center auction, annual auction on Saturday night. Very well attended and very well organized, and I think they raised a lot of money, so that's good too. That's all I have.
Mayor Mays, I'd like to say, even though the destruction of the fire was very, very serious, where would we be without those individuals coming in and serving our community and also our local community of firefighting? And thank you for all of those individuals that helped.
Well said. Item 9 is our consent agenda. Items of a routine and non-controversial nature are placed on the consent agenda to allow the city council to spend its time and energy on the more important items and issues. Any councilor may request an item be pulled from the consent agenda and be considered separately. Items pulled from the consent agenda will be placed on the agenda at the end of the action items section. Tonight, we have 4 items on the consent agenda. First is the approval of the June 2nd special city council meeting minutes. Second is approval of the June 9th regular city council meeting minutes. Third is the authorization of expenditures for our water treatment chemical supplies. And fourth is a resolution concurring with my appointments of Forrest E. Cole and Victor Johnson to the Historic Landmarks Commission. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Mr. Mayor, I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
And McLaughlin will second.
Moved by Councilor Randall and seconded by Councilor McLaughlin to approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 10A is consideration of an amendment to the wastewater treatment plant operations contract. Mr.
Yep. Hello again. This back in July 1st of 2023, the city entered into a new 15-year contract with OMI for the operation of the wastewater treatment plant. Each year there is an amendment to that contract to update to be updated annually, and that needs to be authorized by the city council through this process for the approval of that contract amendment. The report for this approval is for the contract amendment number 2, which is for the 3rd year of that 15-year contract. The contract includes 2 categories of costs. There's the direct costs and the management fee. In that contract, the contract specifies a formula of using the CPI cost consumer price index plus 2%, or the increase could be capped at the amount of 4%. Over this past year, from between January of 24 to January of 25, the CPI was at 3%. So that 3% plus 2% can be allowed for up to a 5% increase on this amendment. Based on some of the costs that the treatment plant has experienced over this past year, that is well above that 5% or even that 3% CPI index. Some of those big costs are additional costs for fuel and handling the biosolids that get taken from the plant out to the rural areas, and some of their other fees for schooling and their recruitment and retainage process. That just puts it well above that 5% that is the maximum that we could be going up for. So with that, the city is, the total cost of this contract amendment as proposed will be in the amount of $1,498,464. And that's a total cost of 4.99% from the current contract amendment that was in place from contract amendment number 1, in the amount of $1,427,254. So with the adopted budget of the fiscal year 25-26 budget, that included an amount of $1,498,617 in the wastewater fund for the operation, the contracted operation of the wastewater treatment plant. Therefore, those costs or the monies are available within the wastewater fund for that in the amount of this contract amendment, which is recommended to be in the amount of $1,498,464. And the monies are available and budgeted. So with that, staff's recommendation is to move forward with asking for council's authorization to authorize the city manager to sign the amendment number 2 with OMI in that amount not to exceed the $1,498,464. And with that, I can answer any questions.
Any questions for Mr. McCabe? Nope. Okay. Anybody like to make a motion?
Yes, Mayor Mays. With the arrival of Jacob on the scene at wastewater treatment plant, our city remains fortunate to have such an outstanding company serving the wastewater needs of our community. I just want to say that before I make this motion. I am pleased to move to authorize the city manager to sign amendment number 2 to the OMI agreement in the amount not to exceed $1,498,464.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Been moved by Councilor McLaughlin and seconded by Councilor Richardson to authorize the city manager to sign the amendment to the OMI agreement. Any more questions or discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 11A is a resolution, consideration of a resolution adopting a supplemental budget for this fiscal year. Cleaves.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There is a resolution for a supplemental budget included in your packet, and this supplemental budget covers 2 items as we close out this fiscal year. The first is we are looking to account for an additional $50,000 in transient lodging tax. The transient lodging tax that we received this year was higher than we anticipated. Under the ordinance that we have changed, but is still in effect for this fiscal year, A portion of those monies need to be dispersed to Northern Wasco County Parks and Recreation. And so this supplemental budget allocates an additional $50,000 to complete that request, again, before the end of the fiscal year. The second item here is a shift as part of the process we went through in last year's audit related to the airport. Specifically, the airport is, as the council knows, is jointly owned by the city of the Dalles and Klickitat County. In the airport's budget, we had allocated FAA grant revenue in the airport's budget itself to be received and expended from that. However, through the process with our audit, it was determined that these funds are specifically associated with the city of the Dalles and should be accounted for in our capital project fund and not the airport fund, which is, as I mentioned, co-owned or quasi-co-owned by the city of the Dalles and Klickitat County. And so this supplemental budget realizes that additional FAA grant revenue and moving it from that airport fund to the capital project fund. This is something that we will likely need to do again in the future in this upcoming budget cycle. That depends on how our work goes with Klickitat County in reviewing and updating the joint operating agreement with Klickitat County. We're hoping to have that work done ideally before the end of the year, as there are some contracts and different renewal processes we need to go through, and completing those processes under the updated JOA would be most ideal. But this cleans up the remainder of this fiscal year and moves those FAA grant dollars over into the capital project fund. And so what we're looking for is for you to adopt resolution number 25-028, adopting a supplemental budget for this fiscal year, making appropriations and authorizing expenditures within various funds of the City of the Dalles adopted budget. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Mr. Klebs? Counselor Richardson.
Not to trip us up on a record short meeting, but one or two quick questions. Any progress on the JOA as of yet? I know that's tangential, but feels fair.
I feel comfortable answering it, so I think it's okay. No, the representative from Klickitat County, Commissioner Lori Zoller, their prosecuting attorney, Mr. Cannell, our city attorney, and I have met a couple times now to discuss what that may look like. One concept that we've been exploring and I'm generally supportive of and moving and exploring further is similar to Q-Life, where we have an intergovernmental agreement that is co-owned or has three different participants in Q-Life's case with Northern Wasco County PUD, Wasco County, and the City of the Dalles. We recently went through a process to update and revise those IGA documents for Q-Life, and so it's very fresh and familiar to us. And so exploring a concept where the Klickitat County and the City of the Dalles continue to own the airport, but look at that similar kind of structure with different representatives may be the case to go. We wanted to get some consensus and support from the Klickitat County Board of Commissioners before moving too far down the road on that concept. We also want to make sure that we engage with the airport board as well and other involved parties that may make sense as we kind of move that concept forward. So before I left last week, we did get some positive response from the Board of County Commissioners, but we need to circle back with Commissioner Zoller and the prosecuting attorney on what those next steps may look like and make sure we're still on the same page.
Thank you. My other question, appreciate that. And good luck. I know there's a number of parties involved with that particular conversation. My other question is, and not to look a gift horse in the mouth, we've received something like $50,000 unanticipated. Why did it go to parks? Is it just because that seems like a good idea, or is there some contractual detail I've forgotten?
That falls under the ordinance that we revised moving forward in the 6%, 2%. And so under that prior ordinance that we have, 2% of the collected TLT is dispersed to Parks and Rec. And so we're finishing that out for this year, and then moving forward, it'll fall under the new ordinance that we have.
Thanks a bunch.
or revised ordinance, I should say.
Correct.
Any other questions?
Mayor Mays, how would it look different with the Q Life rather than what it's currently under with a board at the airport? How would that change or how would that look?
So I think those are some of the exact questions that we're going to be working through
Okay.
as we explore the concept. And so we'll come back with more specific information once staff and our partners over at Klickitat County have looked into those different questions and come up with a recommendation for what it may exactly look like.
I'm okay with that.
Mr. Mayor, just want to mention the staff report indicates it, and although we didn't have any formalities with a gavel being banged or anything, but this action item here tonight, the adoption of this resolution, is the focus of a noticed public hearing, since the proposed supplemental budget is more than 10% of the operating budget of the airport. And so, with that said, the city needs to give the public, anybody who would like to offer testimony relevant to this item should have the opportunity to weigh in.
Anybody in the audience like to address the city council on this supplemental budget resolution? Last call. Okay, hearing nothing, we'll proceed. Would anybody like to make a motion?
It's my turn. Mr. Mayor, I'd move to adopt resolution number 25-028, adopting a supplemental budget for fiscal year 2024-2025, making appropriations and authorizing expenditures within various funds of the Dalles adopted budget.
Is there a second?
McLaughlin was second.
Moved by Councilor Richardson and seconded by Councilor McLaughlin to adopt the resolution adopting the supplemental budget for this fiscal year. Any more discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Is there any other business to come before the city council? Councilor Runyon.
See that our insurance agent is still in the room. I had one other question I just thought about. If you could come forward, appreciate it. You mentioned the airport in your talk.
I did.
Okay, so 2 states, city and a county. I mean, is CIS in both states or is it another entity brought together?
It's a great question. So
It's 2 then, my God.
CIS does provide some property coverage at the location, but the liability is actually picked up by a specific airport program
Okay,
that is provided to 5 states in the Northwest. And so the coverages are split apart. CIS provides coverage to the hangars and some of the property that is there. And I'll be honest, they are a little uncomfortable doing it because it is outside the state of Oregon, but they have done it for a long time and they're going to keep doing it. But the main coverage platform comes for liability purposes, comes directly through a different program.
okay. I was just wondering how it worked together and if it took longer than normal for similar types airports that are in one state, for example.
Yeah, so the program that the airport is part of has some real benefits to it. It renews on a 3-year basis, so the rates are locked in for 3 years. We are actually beginning a new 3-year cycle, the 7-1. It is written basically by aviation experts. It's kind of all that they do. And it's been the most successful municipal aviation program in all 5 states. Not everyone that works there is easy to get along with. But we have found our way through, and I feel really good about the program.
Great. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Any other business come before the city council? If not, with that, we'll adjourn. Thank you all very much for coming.